What's going on? So I'm sure you've all seen what the big tech companies are doing right now. Even though it's incredibly complicated and not really a simple single layer, like it's got a lot of layers and depth and ways you could look at it and whatnot, I wanted to go through some of my thoughts on it, as best I could anyway, and discuss some common comments that I see regarding it. First off, I think this type of suppression goes against our culture of free speech. Yes, the First Amendment protects you against the government. I'm not referring to legal protections. I'm talking about our culture. Our culture used to be a whole lot more sticks and stones, and now it's, words or violence. In America, we have, or had at least, a culture of free speech. A culture built on the principle that we're free to say whatever we want without being afraid of censorship or retaliation. As Cultural Democracy in the First Amendment by Jack M. Balkin, the Knight Professor of Constitutional Law and the First Amendment at Yale Law School, says, link is down in the description if you want to read it, freedom of speech does more than protect democracy, it also promotes a democratic culture. That democratic culture, that whole Socratic method where we could talk and stuff? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That culture of discourse is rapidly fading. And these big tech companies, which I'm going to just refer to as a whole as big tech, even though I kind of think it sounds cheesy, but it's the easiest way to do it. They are playing a big part in killing it, basically. Our culture of discourse is rapidly fading. The First Amendment and our culture of free speech protects speech that we disagree with, and that's by design. After all, there's no need to protect speech everyone agrees with. That doesn't need protecting. So censoring and suppressing people that you disagree with, simply because you disagree with them, which is exactly what has been going on for a long time now, but recently, boy, has it ramped up. Look how surprised I am. Not. Is a truly terrible thing. Anyway, again, it's really a hard thing to describe or sum up or, put concisely because it's very complicated. But, those are some of my thoughts. So here are some of the most common arguments for this suppression that I see. Because, people are arguing for it, which baffles me. Number one, well, don't like it? Start your own. Like we're supposed to go start our own damn Twitter or something. It's like, what? I don't know if this is offered as a legitimate option out of sheer negligence or what, but start your own Twitter or start your own Facebook is like saying start your own America or fill your own ocean or something. It just doesn't make sense. Not to mention people toss this out there like I'm pissed at the corner Quickie Mart, kick me out for not wearing a shirt or something. Like I'm going to go home and be like, I'm going to start my own Quickie Mart and none of us are going to wear shirts. That'll show them. Yet no, it's a bit more serious than that. So not only is it a lot more serious, it's basically impossible to do that. I mean, these companies are beyond massive and have immense control over the country. And even attempting to start your own would result in you more than likely either getting bought up, a la Instagram in 2011, running out of money long before coming even close to being a true competitor, or you get nuked off the face of the planet one night. So no, you can't just go start your own. There's a fantastic video over on InRange TV that I'll link in the description. He talks about this more in depth because it's way more complicated than I can say in a single video when I want to cover other things. And he just kind of, he lays it all out. So if you want to see how just completely ridiculous this suggestion even is, go watch his video. Links down in the description. Number two, just use a different one then. Again, this is either a stupid suggestion or a misguided one. I'm not real sure. Sure, you can not use Twitter or Facebook. Yeah, you can do that. But when I'm talking about big tech, I'm talking about all of it. Not just Twitter or just Facebook. I'm talking about all of it. Because it's all of it that is causing the problem. Look at Parler. They got nuked not by Twitter. They got nuked by Amazon, Apple, Google. It was a multi-layered nuking. It wasn't just one company. Although it really only takes one company, but yeah, when I'm talking about big tech, I'm talking about all of the major, pretty much everything on the internet is in one way or another controlled by 6 companies. We can call it the big tech monopoly if you want, whatever. As much as I wish you could just use another one, you can't because everything ties back to these companies in one way or another. Everything, social media, data searching, banking, everything is super leftist controlled, which leads me into the next point. Well, then just don't use it. Can't use another one, and you can't not use it. Well, I mean, you can, kind of, to a point. Again, you can not use Twitter, for example. Yeah, I don't have a Twitter because I think it's a cesspool. But Facebook, for instance, as much as I'd love to get off there, and I'm actually transitioning away from it as we speak, heading over to MeWe, which is the worst name for a service I've ever heard. MeWe? Why? Just flat out getting off of Facebook isn't really realistic. That's where everyone I know, and probably a lot of you as well, it's where everyone shares stuff. It's where everyone goes. It's where everyone is. It's where all the groups are, marketplace is there, all of our friends and family are there. I mean, you can't just leave. It's basically the modern day town square. Flat out leaving would be basically like banishing yourself from a pretty decent chunk of society. But going back to the broader big tech thing, simply not using it isn't a realistic option unless you want to go live in the woods somewhere like the Unabomber or something. As mentioned above, not using, say, Amazon, for instance, isn't as simple as not buying from Amazon anymore, cutting off that Prime membership. No, it's a lot more than that. To truly cut Amazon out, to actually stop supporting Amazon because you don't believe in what they're doing, like I don't, you would have to stop ordering from them, get rid of any and all Alexa devices you may have, get rid of all your Kindle and Audible books, forego Whole Foods, I know you're sad, uninstall the Prime Video and Prime Music apps from all of your devices, and if you wanted to be very thorough and, actually do it, you'd have to stop visiting any site or using any service that utilizes AWS, Amazon Web Services, just like Parler did. Oh, which services use that? Netflix, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, ESPN, Adobe, Twitter, Airbnb, Apple, and yeah, you get the point, basically everything. So tell me again, just don't use Amazon? Really? You can't. And that's just Amazon. Don't get me started on how deeply entrenched Google is in our daily lives. Anyway, another thing I see thrown around a lot, because I mentioned this is basically textbook fascism with a slight modern twist, which it is, that brought about the most baffling argument I've ever heard. It's not fascism, it's the free market. Welcome to capitalism. Oh, I don't even know. I cannot fathom how people get from point A to point B sometimes. It really just baffles me. Free market, capitalism, implies that we have an option. You can't have a free market when there are no options. Free market implies that we have choice, which, back the video up a bit, we don't. Anyway, that's not even really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the actions of the companies, not the market in which they exist. It just completely doesn't make any sense. Stupid argument. But the most common thing I see thrown around right now is, well, they're private companies. This is the most flaccid, spineless, bend over and take it up the pooper argument I've ever seen. Everything is a private company. Everywhere you go is private property. Everything. Are we supposed to just check our rights when we leave our front door? Just no big deal. We don't need those. I can leave them at home. Is that what we're supposed to do? Like I was in Vegas a while back and I have a little bag that I use to carry my camera in and it has a extra beer holder pouch on the side, which makes it very handy in Vegas. And it has mole on it. Not even a whole lot of mole, but mole on the side. It's this webbing stuff. Yeah, that. Well, apparently because it has mole on it, it's a tactical bag now. And because of that, the Wynn/Encore, they're the same freaking hotel. They're right next to each other. They're owned by Steve Wynn. They're both owned by the same guy. It's the same damn company, whatever. Same thing. Wynn/Encore. The Wynn/Encore decided that they wanted to search my bag when I walked in. I was like, why? They said it was because it's a tactical bag and told me that it's private property so they can if they want. I told them that that's absolutely true and left, heading for the other Wynn/Encore that's on public property. Except I didn't because there's not another Wynn/Encore and everything on the strip is private property. So despite it being 100% legal for me to carry a firearm in casinos, as I'm an Arizona concealed carry permit holder and law-abiding citizen, I am forced to submit to baseless searches and denial of my rights to self-defense in order to visit a casino that's open to the public. Yes, it's a very fine line between just, shitting all over companies and what they want and shitting all over us and what we want. Of course, but I don't know. And yeah, Before you guys start with the whole stupid ass, would you let them carry in your house? Nonsensical argument. My house isn't open to the public, so shut up. That's a dumbass argument. But now look at that same scenario through the lens of social media and the tech companies. Big tech, if you will. We don't have to go to Vegas casinos, or any casinos really, but we do have to use these sites and services. There's really no getting around it these days. We can't use the other Google. There isn't one. We can't just not use social media, as it's now a huge vital part of the majority of people's lives in the modern world. For instance, more people get the news from social media and or the internet in general these days than any other source. Link in the description for that if you want to read it. We don't choose to use these companies and services anymore. It's like saying we choose to use electricity. While it's technically true, it's not really. That's why it's so crucial that these companies are neutral, or at least as neutral as they can be. They have immense power to sway elections. Again, look at this year's election, and have massive effects on society as a whole. The thumb that they can put on the scales is incredibly huge. Now, no, I do not want the government to come in all heavy-handed and just regulate everything to death. It's not what I'm saying. I actually very much prefer the government to stay the hell out of the affairs of private businesses. I don't necessarily consider myself a conservative, but conservatives are generally for, less government intervention, regulation, that type of thing. And I'm definitely right there with them on that. But government is necessary. I'm not an anarchist. That would be stupid. Government serves a purpose. And this sort of thing actually is the job of the government, to keep us from jacking each other up. Tim Pool had a great analogy regarding government regulation in a video I saw earlier today. Once again, link in the description. BP spills oil, right? Well, they're a private company. They can do that if they want. Oh, what? You mean that's not the same thing? You mean the government needs to, hold companies accountable so they don't, destroy all the stuff that we use in the places that we go? What? Yeah, this is the government's job. Police and military to keep us from physically jacking each other up and other countries from physically jacking us up. Making regulations so BP doesn't do that, or DuPont doesn't dump all kinds of weirdness in the rivers, killing cows and shit. Chemically jacking each other up. Making things like the FTC's Bureau of Consumer Protection in an effort to stop, unfair business practices and robocallers and shit like that. Financially jacking each other up. A lot of these government departments and agencies and whatever are total garbage. Yes, absolutely. And it is super bloated. But some of them are at least a start, right? This is the true purpose of government. Not to give us free stuff. Grant us rights. Government doesn't give us our rights, people. Their job is to protect our rights. And they are not doing so from these private companies. And now, private companies, again, you can apply that to this mask bullshit that's going on right now. If all the grocery stores and shit decide, hey, no mask, no service, what are we supposed to do if we think masks are a waste of face? Waste of face. Take up farming? What if the electric companies decided to shut you off if you, drove a truck? Oh, all those truck drivers, they pollute too much. We don't support that. Click. Now what? They're a private company, right? Or maybe an internet provider that decides they don't want to allow you to fan the inflammatory flames of flamage by posting all of your awful, evil pineapple pizza pictures. So they turn you off. Private company, right? It's a very fine line. And I say a lot of that jokingly, but the stuff that Twitter and, even that stuff that they did with the New York Post and Biden's laptop, if that doesn't scare you, something's wrong. Because that type of thing should not happen. That is something that the people, us, needed to know about. That is a serious thing. And people are just willfully ignorant. They're like, whatever, I don't care. And Twitter just takes it off. Just poof, gone, poof, out, bye-bye. And no one says anything. No one cares. It's unreal. I can't believe it. At the end of the day, they must be held to a higher standard, as they're not just little private companies anymore. They are huge, integral parts of our society. Anyway, I'll leave you with the textbook definition of fascism straight from dictionary.com. I'll overlay the 2021 update over it. But fascism is a government system led by a dictator, having complete power, forcibly suppressing opposition and criticism, regimenting all industry and commerce, etc. Take a look around, people. Tears of strangers are only water, right? Indian proverb. You get the point. Overall, I don't know what the solution is. I don't know what the right answer is. I don't know if there even is a right answer. It's not so black and white. That's what I mean. It's not, this whole thing is very, very multifaceted. It's complicated. It's deep. It's not a simple, 2D thing that you can just kind of look at and be like, oh, well, you should do this. There's gray area with it. Like people are like, oh, well, then should the businesses have to bake gay cakes or whatever? And it's like, well, no, but, cake isn't quite as important as free speech. There's lots of ifs and ands and ways to look at it, and I don't know, but I do think at least a good place to start would be holding these massive monopolies accountable, and if nothing else at all, knock off the stupid "but they're private companies" nonsense, will you?